Hey y'all, it's Betsy with Happily Ever After Etc. and welcome back to another Cricut Cruise project. So today I am starting our new cruise shirts. Mom and I are headed out on a new trip. We are going all the way to Singapore and then cruising from Singapore back to Long Beach, California. So we are going over the ocean and we are hitting a few really fun Asian ports. Mom, because we're going to Asia all the way to Singapore, really wanted a kind of more detailed cruise shirt, especially because we're going with a larger group this time. And there's at least 3 or 4 of us who wanted shirts, maybe more. Not all the guys wanted them. And so I designed a little shirt that goes Singapore all the way down to Long Beach. She wanted an icon for every single port, which is fine. And this was such a fun design to make, but it definitely took a lot more weeding. I will include the cut files in the box down below. You can go ahead and pick those up. They are free. You can just download them. They are as editable as I can make them for Cricut Design Space, meaning after you upload them, you can go ahead and change not the icons or the design, but you can go ahead and put your call of ports of call on each of the stops. Of course, if you have more stops, you may have to add more words. Or if you have fewer stops, you can just take some of the icons off. But I thought that was a really fun design. We added I can't even speak English today. Panorama Cruise Crew 2024 on the front. We thought about putting Singapore, but short of sailing out of Singapore, it's not really a Singapore cruise. It goes to Ho Chi Minh and Guam, Oahu and Hawaii, lots of different ports of call, but it really only sails out of Singapore. So Panorama is the ship we're going to be on. So that's what we put on the front. And then the main decal is, of course, on the back. So as you can see, we are using sublimation shirts, which mainly means the one I'm wearing is polyester, so it will accept infusible ink. We did have a problem when we went back to get more shirts, and they didn't have any more of this exact design. So we got a second shirt that also works with sublimation. It's the only one the store had in the right kind of colorways. So we have a few in the darker teal, a few in the lighter. I think it'll still look cute enough. But these are half polyester, half cotton. So while they did work, you can see that the black is just not quite as crisp as the black is on the 100% polyester, which really accepts the ink well. So it's just a little difference. I'm still happy with how they turn out for both, and I cannot wait to wear them on the ship. I think they're gonna be really cute, especially with the whole group wearing them. So I will try to include some pictures if you check out my entire cruise playlist. We always do excursion videos for every single port of call on the ship, as well as a ship tour, and we will be wearing these shirts for at least one day on the cruise with the whole group. I'll probably wear mine a couple of days. I hope you like this video. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into Cricut Design Space so we can start with uploading our cut files. I have opened Cricut Design Space. I have grabbed a new canvas and I have already uploaded my 2 designs. You can see right here, this back panel for my Singapore cruise shirt is a pretty large file, so it took a minute to upload. But when you actually place it down, you'll see that it is completely editable so that you can adjust, the cruise ports. If you're not going from Singapore, say you're going to out of California or you're going down to Cancun, you can go into the group and I have all of the cruise ports here. So you can take those off. You can add text here to add in completely new cruise ports if you are not going to Singapore or out of Singapore. You can also add or take away all of these little icons depending on how many ports you're going to. Of course, once you have everything finished, say this is your final design, you are going to want to weld everything together into one layer so that it cuts as one layer. Otherwise, it's going to cut each piece individually. And the way that it does that is by placing everything on your cutting mat, how it will cut the most efficiently. We don't want that. We want it to cut as one large piece. Here's all our words from the unwelded portion. So let's go ahead. We're going to delete this group because we are already set over here. You can also, when you upload the front little decal for the front of your shirt, change out the name of the ship, or if you just want it to say Cruise Crew, you can edit the year here. So it is completely, customizable to your cruise. You may not be going from Singapore to Long Beach like we are on this trip, but we have our front little pocket panel. This is about 3 by 3. Of course, you can make that a little bigger, but between 3 to 5 is what you're supposed to use for a front of the shirt kind of pocket. 3 might be a little small, so we're going to see. For the back, we have an 11.5 wide, so this is a pretty wide decal, but it has a lot of detail on it, so I wanted it to be easy to read. I am using my Maker 3, and we are cutting infusible ink sheets, so you can use your Maker, you can use your Explore Air 2 or 3. The only thing you probably can't use is your Joy, because this is a rather large file. In order to cut this with your Joy, you could, but you would have to slice it into a couple different sections and then piece it back together, which, while possible, would be harder. For now, we're going to click Make. We're going to cut this on mat because infusible ink needs a cutting mat. And I'm going to make at least 3 shirts. Since we are doing infusible ink, they will all need to be mirrored. And we're going to come down and mirror each of the back designs as well. And remember, infusible ink is ink, so you're going to want clean, dry hands, clean, dry workspace. You don't want to smear your ink in any way. And then you'll load it into your machine the same as normal material, but don't worry, I will show you all of that. We're going to select infusible ink transfer sheet, but let's come up to the top here. And it will remind you, make sure mirror is turned on. It is. And your material is ink side up. I'm going to select more pressure because I just find that cuts a little better. And then we are good to go. We'll load our fine point blade into the clamp. I will meet y'all over at the Cricut where I show you how to actually load the material into the machine. All right, y'all, so I have unrolled my infusible ink. You can see that from the box, infusible ink is always going to be lighter than the color when it is on the mat, when it is on the roll. Here they come in these sheets, and that is because it does darken with heat. So that's okay. This light brownish gray kind of color is our black ink. We have placed it on our mat. It is a 12 by 12, and it will load in just like any other cutting mat. And we will go ahead and hit go and let it cut our first back panel. All right, so you can see everything is cut out now, which means we will move on to weeding. And of course, weeding is the process of removing all the little pieces that do not need to be here. So in this case, we will want this to look exactly like our design when it's finished. So we will leave the words, we will remove the background, and that is going to take just a few minutes, which is fine. We'll just want to do it very carefully, and you'll want to use your fingers because weeding tools can tear the infusible ink. So typically I would remove the entire sheet from the cutting mat in order to start weeding. But because this is such a large involved design and the infusible ink will want to curl a little bit, I'm actually going to start weeding it on the mat. So grab my scissors. You can see as we start around that ship, we're just going to carefully remove everything that is not part of the design. And if we need to cut it a little bit, we can, because all of these layers in between here need to come off. But you just want to be careful not to rip the parts of our actual design that we will need. So that is going to take just a minute. This is a really big design. So I'll be back. All right, the back looks amazing. So now we're going to flip it over and do the front. We need to make sure that we are keeping our pieces of parchment paper inside, blocking off where the back is. And now that we have actually put that ink side down on our easy press mat, we're actually going to put a piece of parchment on our mat as well, because heating this up will transfer the ink from the back of our shirt onto our mat and then onto future shirts. Ask me how I know that. All right, that should be good. So we've covered our mat from the ink. We are safe. We have covered the inside of our shirt to protect the back of our shirt. Basically, we just want to protect the ink from going through. And now we'll add our little front pocket piece. So I measure 4 fingers down, and then put the top of that piece about even with either the top or the bottom one of my fingers, whichever one I'm liking. This is a rather small decal. It's only 3 inches. And then I'm going to make sure the top is even with one of those. I'm going with this one for this. So only technically 3 fingers down. And the leftmost portion here is going to be even with the tips of my fingers. Little heat resistant tape just to hold it in place so it doesn't shift while we are pressing this. And we are all set. I'm using 385 for 40 seconds for this infusible ink, and you'll set it straight down, hit the button, and then we're not going to touch it because infusible ink can shift while it's being heated if you're moving the easy press around. And if you do that, you will have a hazy kind of shadow effect, and we want those crisp, clean lines. All right, lift it straight up. Now we're gonna wait for this to cool down because it's very hot to the touch. It's been a minute, not enough minutes, but enough. We're gonna go very slowly because we wanna make sure that everything got even pressure. If anything didn't get even pressure, we'll go ahead and re-hit it with the heat. But this is a small design, it should be fine. Just keep slowly pulling it back. Oh yeah, we're good. I just need to take the couple letters that didn't come off, and there we go. As you can see, all of the ink has transferred. All right, I'm gonna show you the two different material shirts together, and you'll see how this one is so much darker than the other with the 100% polyester count as opposed to only the 50% polyester. But before I do that, I do wanna show you when I lift this up, look at what transferred onto that parchment paper. If I hadn't laid this down under my shirt, all of this ink would be on my mat. And then potentially transfer onto the next thing that I use this mat for. Not good. All right, so they're both good, but you can just see the difference in how crisp this one is versus this one. This one just looks a little faded or like a slightly lighter black. I still like both, and it's just, you know, the difference in the shirt. This one is, like I said, 50% cotton, 50% polyester. The 100% polyester is going to accept the ink better. And so depending on what you're looking for, keep that in mind. We didn't have much of a choice. When we went back to get more, they were out of this. And so this was the compromise. And luckily, the ladies who are getting these teal ones prefer the slightly more cotton shirt because they're just a little softer, whereas the polyester is a little slinkier. Either way, I am thrilled with how these turned out. I think they're so cute, and I think they're going to be really cute on our cruise. I cannot wait to show you pictures of all of us wearing them. So thank you for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.